Hey, what's up guys? Nick here from Sessions Motorsports. Today we are at Seven Springs Winery. Look how beautiful this place is in Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri. It's hot, it's humid, but we got the Hammer back here. A lot of you know about this car, but we recently just did a bunch of big changes on this car, and we figured what better place to show it off than right here. So why don't we come over and we'll take a look at this car and I'll tell you a little bit about it. All right, so this car we built about four and a half years ago for an awesome guy, and he uses this car and beats on this car. This car is all about, it's called the Hammer because it literally beats its way through things. It's all about being tough, overbuilt, over axle, just reliable. Like, you can drive this car hard, and it was used that way. So after 4.5 years of hard wheeling, it's time to bring it back to the shop, strip it completely down, sandblast the chassis. We decided while we were going that far to do a great big refresh on it, let's make a couple of subtle changes, and we went ahead and changed the color of the chassis. This car was bronze before. It's been featured in Crawl magazine, and it was kind of a bronze color on the chassis. So now let's talk about some of the upgrades we did to the car. One of the first things we did was we went ahead and changed the front axle housing. It had a 14-bolt unit before, but we decided to step up and go with Crane's new 4-inch axle tubes. It's 500 wall tubing. It's got the 47 sign Big Bell RCVs with the older style Crane knuckles. And the reason we use those is because we can go through and carve out some nooks and crannies and get more steering angle out of this car. Because again, this car is used for everything. It's used for rock bouncing, it's used for rock crawling, it's used for sand. Even up in Steamboat, Colorado, it's used for snow bashing in the wintertime. So this car, it's very diversified and it's used all over the place. So another cool feature of this axle is we just got done with completely fabricated this custom axle truss with air bump landing pads. Obviously our special link geometry on there. But again, just the theme of this car as you're walking around, you're looking at this car, pay attention to the size of everything. 1.25-inch tie rods on the steering, 1.25-inch tie rods on every heim joints on every link, 2.5-inch lower links, 2-inch upper links, all 70/75. It's just built for brute strength. You're gonna notice some dented tubes and a couple of scars along as we go around this chassis, but again, this thing's 4.5 years old. We just took it down, sandblasted it, changed the color, and did a few small refinements. Some of the cool things this car's always had that we can go over, it's always had a Ron Davis cooling package. We use these because they work. This is their, I believe it's a 28x19 radiator. It's got the integrated fan setup on it. They're stone cold reliable, they're clean, they're well built, and they just flat out function. So that's why we try to use them in every build. We got a comp worn 9RC winch on here. We do not have the box installed yet. We actually are waiting for a solenoid that we had to order. That's one of the things that we had to fix, is the winch stopped working, and we're getting that fixed out. It's got Fox 2.0 air bumps on it. Again, pay attention to the amount of up travel this car has at ride height and how low the car sits and how low everything like the motor is placed in the chassis. It runs a King 2-inch by 14-inch front coilover on it, mounted behind the axle center line, so we're achieving 16 inches of wheel travel with this setup here. The engine in this car is pretty cool because it's old school, different, and just a beast. It's a 410 CI Ford stroke small block with a Holley Terminator EFI, AFR heads, scat crank. This thing's a beast. It's reliable. You can beat on it all day long, and it's about 550 horsepower. So with the axle combo this car has, it's pretty hard to break this car no matter how hard you drive. It's got a built C6 transmission that's all 300M internals, manual valve body, and 300M input and output shafts. Again, it has a Ford 205T case for just brute reliability with the 2-to-1 low range. And the perk of the 2-to-1 low range for how this car is used is it's got that wheel speed and low range, and it's got enough power to do whatever it needs to do as far as crawling, like in Sand Hollow, Johnson Valley, South Dakota. This car's been all those places, and it works really well. It's a true kind of do everything car. But the theme of the car, again, is tough and simple. It doesn't have anything it doesn't need. So if you look at the interior, it's got some bling. I mean, we did our custom machine shifter knobs. It's got detail everywhere it needs to be. It's got ostrich line seats, but it has 4 switches, 3 gauges. It's just super, super simple. It's got spools front and rear with 538 gears, so that hence it doesn't even have a 2-speed T-case. It's just literally 4 low, 4 high, and 2-wheel drive. It's all it needs for what this car is designed to do. It's very built to the owner's specs, and so it's catered to that. One of the cool details on this car is this gas pedal right here. The gentleman that owns this was an excavator for a really long time, and if you guys know, you know what that symbol is. That thing helped pay for this car. Another cool thing is it's got our classic Sessions Motorsports custom fuel cell. We build these fuel cells specific to each chassis, and again for each knee. So this car, it's got some, it doesn't have our in-tank fuel pump set up. This guy wanted to go actually with a frame rail fuel pump, but we did our classic sump design with a return that feeds the sump. So at any angle, no matter what, this thing will never start for fuel. It's got a built-in Yeti cooler mount in the back with storage in front of it for tools. One of the cool things that we did is we built these custom tie downs to hold this Yeti in place that are fully adjustable, really easy to use, but no matter what you do, this thing's going nowhere, no matter the climate. Some of the other things on the rear axle of this car, it also uses a 14 bolt in the back. This one is 40 spline all the way throughout, but it's got a lot of hybrid parts. It uses a Mark Williams spool, Spider-Trax 300M axle shafts, and Spider-Trax Pro Series unit vanes and brake assembly on it. So we tried to save the weight wherever we could on the rear axle and just use parts that we know that work, that are just tough as nails and take the abuse. The tires on this car, as you can see, they've been through some abuse. They're 43 sticky Super Swamper SXs on a classic Walker Evans wheel. The car has 2.5 inch by 16 inch King coilovers on the rear, mounted on a trailing arm setup, a very simple trailing arm setup on a 2.5 inch 70-75 link, and it yields about 18 inches of wheel travel in the back. It uses AR 400 skid plates all the way throughout for just brute force. So 1/4 inch AR 400 skid plates all the way through. If you kind of stand back and take an overview of the car, pay attention to how low the motor is in the chassis, how far back it is in relative to the front axle, and just the overall kind of beefiness of, but same thing, simpleness of everything you see on the car. All right guys, that's kind of a short and sweet video, but it is hot out here today and we're gonna go have some fun on the lake. So turns out though, we got a ton of sweet new builds that are right on the verge of coming out. We got a lot of new content that we're gonna be showing you guys. We got a lot of features we're gonna be showing you guys. So if you like what you see, subscribe, like the footage, and we'll keep putting it out. Until next time, you guys have a good one.